Hey, welcome to this series. So in this one, we are now going to look at how to animate a chart using Streamlit. So the idea here is we will be using Plotly Express. So they have an inbuilt data set called Gapminder. That's what we are using. And here we basically have the data set which we will be printing out here. And in that data we are getting all the years that are unique here. That's why we are doing dot unique and we are converting that to list in this. And in the selection box we basically ask user which year he wants to select, and in this if the year that we filter the data for the year that user is selecting, and once that filter is in place we actually go ahead and do a plot. And for animation we should not be doing this filtering, and the only change between animation and this is these are the following two strings. We basically need to say the animation frame and the animation group, and we basically have this string here where we are displaying figure 1 and figure 2, the two charts that are generating with Plotly. And to understand this better about Gapminder, this is the data set basically. So this is the data set we would be using, which is GDP per capita. And that's let's look at that data set here just to make sure. So I would be attaching this link for the Plotly default data set. You can read through that. Cool. So this is our default data set. If you look at this too, the data set is exactly the same: country, continent, year, life expectancy, pop. So we are exactly getting that data set here. And on this data set and this is the code where we got a list of unique years and we basically have them listed as a drop down. So the default value would be the 0th value, or you can set, if you want any other value you can actually set that. And once you do this you actually see a dynamic interactive plot, something like this. See, every year you select you actually see a change in the data here, and you can play around with couple of them. This has to do with size max, range, and range y, and log x equal to true. Basically log x is doing some normalization, size max is what's the max size of the bubble you want to see, range x is the range you want. So you can play around with this data. This is not something that's static, so that's something which changes. And for animated plot, basically from start to end you can actually do this. You could have seen this animated charts in Wall Street Journal and other newspaper, and this is something very useful to know. And that's basically what we covered in this tutorial. Thank you for joining.